In our packet today is a copy of the governor's press release and proposals to the university regarding management of the mountain. In it, the governor has made 10 recommendations to the university, and one of those, item number 8, says voluntarily return to the full DLNR jurisdiction of lands over 10,000 acres, not specifically needed for astronomy. This is an interesting proposal, and it creates several questions for us that I think we need to consider as a board.
Greg, is it a foregone conclusion that these lands would revert back to DLNR?
It is a statement by the governor
Right.
that he's asked the university to take these 10 significant actions related to enhanced stewardship in general. So it's the
And that's
governor's
one of
request.
them.
That's right, that's one of them. I find something, to be quite honest, I think is very offensive in what the governor says. He says, the governor said the state of Hawaii must change the way it exercises responsibility for Mauna Kea, and the proposed to change the management in the entire summit, all of which is state land, and to bring cultural voices into the leadership structure. He announced the formation of a Mauna Kea Cultural Council, which will work with the board of Department of Land and Natural Resources and the governor's office to ensure that all acts from here forward are sensitive and observant of the host culture. How does that interact with Kahuku Mauna and the work they've done for decades? What is he saying about the work that you've done? Where's the control and the cultural voice going to come from for the mountain now? Will it be this island?
I have a lot of questions too, but how we can make that happen as we move forward, starting today.
You know, Harry, and I have deep concerns because I really respect the amount of work that you and your colleagues have put in and the work you do. And now, what I read here is that your voice will only affect less than 10% of the mountain.
That's correct.
And your manao will not be sought for the management of over 10,000 acres. That input will come from a different group. And how is that going to work, in reality? If I'm on one side of the road, Kahuku Mauna is going to make recommendations about cultural aspects of any proposal, but on the other side of the road, it's going to be another group. And I'm offended.
I'm offended too, and I really like them, or whoever at the table. I really like let them know. You're not going to know unless you participate in everything, and you're right. And you say this side is this side, and that's why I like know. And when the who was saying who they talking to, that's my concern. Who they talking to? Then if they come to this meeting, and they tell us we're not doing this and that, we take the input, we try to work it so that we can move on and make sure everybody is represented in this whole process. Yeah.
Seems to me the recommendations or mandate or whatever it is, 10 commandments, are directed toward the university. We're not the university. We're an advisory group.
That's right.
And we can advise the chancellor and the president and the board of regents in any manner that we see fit. And if your recommendation is that we keep the lands, then we can recommend that. Whether that'll happen or not.
You tell me 10%, no give them back. I don't know if I'd like to say, but me, I will vote no give them back.
We're an advisory group.
I know we're an advisory group, I understand all that, but
And
I
if our
want to make
advice to
things happen.
and I have no problem, in fact,
Okay.
I share your opinion that if our advice is that we think it's a bad idea, then we should say that, and we should say why. And if we think that, okay, they're gonna take it back anyway, then here are issues that you need to tell us. We're about to embark on redoing our plan, right? It's a 5-year review, we've gotta go through this. We need to know, where does that plan cover? If it is only the UH managed lands, then the plan might look somewhat different. Because I think a big element of that is then, how are we gonna interact with DLNR's plans? Because there's an interface, and we can't just close our eyes and operate independently. We've got to say, okay, how are we going to work together on this?
My question from the beginning was, why did the science reserve need all those 11,000 acres of land to manage? If this is the amount of land, the footprint in the red hashed marks, is the amount of land that it takes to accomplish the intention of astronomical investigation from the Mauna, then this may be this may be the acreage that comports with the management capabilities of the University of Hawaii. So I just think that the reserve was too big to begin with in the first place. And the smaller acreage seems like a more manageable acreage for the university to handle, keeping the intended uses of the management area in mind.
I think the university is probably thrilled with the transfer, all right? I don't work for the university, all right? I work for the community here. I mean, we're all volunteers. My concern is for the mountain, all right? Now, I think you're absolutely correct. The university is far better equipped to deal with only the astronomy precinct. And I don't have a problem with that. My problem really falls, and it sounds funny coming from the Howley sitting here, is the cultural aspects and having a different board advising the cultural management of the mountain on our island by another group, and how we segment Kahuku Mauna and say that now your guidance will only apply to 880 acres, all right? Because we now have this other group that's going to advise DLNR and BLNR about the balance of the mountain. And that's what makes me very nervous.
I would just say that if this cultural concern is so mighty, then hiring should have been done along the same timeline that Fritz was hired to implement the Natural Resources Management Plan. That has been an outstanding concern from Kahuku Mauna that has been voiced as soon as Fritz was hired. That we hear the rhetoric about concern for the culture. But the university has done no better engagement and making good their intention and perhaps promise to treat the cultural resources on par with the natural resources. Kahuku Mauna did not form to be an institution of the university. Kahuku Mauna formed as a group of people in the community who were concerned about the process as it was unfolding. I'm tempted to suggest that the independence of Kahuku Mauna, well, I won't go there, but Kahuku Mauna did not form to be an institution or an agent of the university. It formed to be an independent body. And Kahuku Mauna or Kukia'i Mauna can form independent of the structure of the university. And so I just think if there is this deep concern and commitment to the culture, then the correlate to Fritz should be hired to work on the cultural resources management plan. And that would be a demonstration of good faith that would make the rhetoric that I'm hearing now a little bit more palatable. In my opinion, we were put in a position of advocating for astronomy on the mountain rather than being the kahu for the mountain. So the present members can speak better to their role. But if they have the na'au for the Mauna, they don't need the structure of the university to act on that na'au.
I'm not intrinsically against turning 10,000 acres back to the state. I just want to know what's the plan. And I don't think that's an unreasonable question before I give them my approval to go forward with all of this. And from the astronomy standpoint, you're absolutely right in the sense that it's a small fraction of the 10,000 acres that the observatories actually need to do the science research that we're doing. So in principle, don't have an objection to the transfer, I just don't know what we're getting into. And I kind of feel like there's almost a double standard in that, the state is the only entity I can think of that can try and do this, just initiate this process in the absence of explaining what their intentions are in a clear way. That gives us some confidence that the transfer that they're seeking approval for is going to meet our expectations.
Mixed management, we have issues about that already. People want to do research up there, whose boundary they're on. We got to pass through one to get to the other. It takes 2 permits to do one project. It becomes a nightmare. That is,
I find it odd that the governor has said that the university has not managed the cultural resources, whether you agree or disagree, but then to come back and have DLNR saying that they want the university
yeah.
to transfer the land, but yet continue to manage the cultural resources. Makes no sense.